Hello everyone, welcome back. So now let's revise TDS and TCS. Very important topics from examination point of view. Let's understand how these two work. Now, first of all, TDS comes from section 51 of CGST Act. Who is required to do TDS? First, let me ask you one thing. Is government one of the biggest consumers? The answer is yes, government is one of the biggest consumers. So government wanted to track its own contractors because government gives a lot of contracts and to government is generally taxable. So say suppose government is the recipient and the supply is for 100, GST 18. Total comes to 118. Now what would be the recipient, that is government, do? They'll pay 100 plus 18 and this 18 will go to government, correct? And to government is generally taxable because see, the recipient could be central government or state government, but the tax will go to both central government and state government, and that's the reason if you provide it to central government, why should state lose revenue? Similarly, if you provide it to state government, why should center lose revenue? So to government is generally taxable. There are exemptions like ration shops or fair price shops or pure service or composite supply where goods element does not exceed 25% for a constitutional function. Now, GST is applicable on this particular transaction. So the law says that government department, while making payment, to the supplier, they have to deduct TDS and that will be 2%. So 100 rupees. It's not on GST, it's only on the base value. While making payment, you have to deduct 2 rupees. Now the question is, then the recipient will pay this TDS to government. Does it become a cost to the supplier? The answer is no. Supplier gets it in his e-cash ledger, not e-credit ledger. He gets it in his e-cash ledger and he can use it to pay any liability. Can he also seek a refund of this, sir? Yes, why not? The law permits it that he can also seek a refund of this 2 rupees. Then the law also provides that TDS will apply only when taxable value under a contract exceeds 2.5 lakhs. Careful, if it is exactly 2.5 lakh, that it will not apply. Only when taxable value under a contract exceeds 2.5 lakh, then in that case it will be applicable, and this 2.5 is obviously excluding GST. And it does not talk about invoice wise, it talks about contract as a whole, and government contracts are majorly big contracts. Now the next question is, who all is required to do this? Government department, local authority, government agency like CBI, National Investigation Agency, authority set up by an act of parliament, society set up by government, and the last one is public sector undertaking. All these are required to do TDS. Are there some exemptions, sir? Yes, there are some exemptions. First one is Ministry of Defense. Ministry of Defense. So to Ministry of Defense, this will not apply because obviously if government does not trust the supplier as to whether he will pay this 18 rupees, because the whole purpose of TDS is to track with 2 rupees TDS, you get to know that 2 rupees divided by 2%, his sales is 100. Now if some person's TDS is 2 crores, then his sales is 100 crores. If he is reporting less than that, then in that case he is a tax evader. That's the whole purpose. And this TDS comes into your account only after validation. You have to accept it, saying that it is my TDS, only then it will appear in your eCash ledger. Sir, can we seek a refund also of this money? Yeah, eCash ledger is eligible for refund. Then second one, between PSUs. Between two PSUs, it will not apply. When this came, others got angry. Others said, government, you have provided it for two PSUs. What about us? Say suppose government department to local authority to government agency to local authority, government agency to other authority to society set up by government. So what about us? Then they brought one more point, saying that amongst those who are required to do TDS. So between all these people, TDS will not be applicable. Then in metal scrap industry, tax evasion started happening, and there were a lot of reports from Gujarat saying that metal scrap industry is evading tax. So government added one more case in TDS, saying that if there is a transaction of metal scrap between two registered person, careful, if it is between URP to RP, then it is covered by RCM, metal scrap. But if it is RP to RP, then there will be TDS at 2%. All other conditions are same. Taxable value under a contract, while making payment, TDS has to be done. Now, between two registered persons, now metal scrap dealing, TDS will apply. Then they changed it here, saying that except metal scrap. Because if you keep it as it is, then see, metal scrap people are required to do TDS. Now if you don't add this line, then in that case, between two registered persons dealing with metal scrap, TDS will never apply, because they will be get covered under the exemption, and hence they added metal scrap exclusion here. But notice, they have not added metal scrap exclusion between PSUs. So PSUs, even today, if the transaction is between two PSUs, then in that case, even if it is metal scrap, TDS will not apply, because this point does not exclude metal scrap. Only the third one excludes metal scrap. Clear with this? Okay. Then coming to what will be the type of TDS. Say suppose on a transaction, I'll take an example. Location of supplier, place of supply, location of recipient. Say suppose location of supplier is Delhi, place of supply is also Delhi, location of recipient is also Delhi. What will be the type of tax on this transaction? Type of tax on this transaction will be C plus S. What will be the type of TDS? Now whatever is the type of tax, same is the type of TDS. The TDS will be CGST 1%, SGST 1%. Because whatever is the type of tax, same is the type of TDS. Then second case, supplier is in Delhi, place of supply is Karnataka, recipient is also in Karnataka. What will be the type of tax? IGST. What will be the type of TDS? TDS will be 2%, IGST. See the third case, Delhi supplier, Delhi place of supply, Karnataka recipient. Now if the supplier and place of supply is in one state, then C plus S will be charged. Here government has said no TDS, as Karnataka recipient will not be able to collect C plus S of, or will not be able to collect, or will not be able to do TCS TDS of C plus S of Delhi. Because see, for Karnataka person, C plus S always means Karnataka S. It will be difficult for him to transfer that to Delhi, and hence they have said no TDS. So I am making it in a form of sentence. when the location of supplier and place of supply is in a state which is different from the registration state of the recipient, then in that case TDS will not apply. Now it can so happen that Karnataka government wants to make a Karnataka Bhavan in Delhi. So they hire a contractor from Delhi. That contractor is from Delhi. Karnataka Bhavan is being made in Delhi. Place of supply will be Delhi. So that contractor will charge C plus S of Delhi. Will Karnataka government be required to do TDS in this case? The answer is no. TDS will not apply. So don't forget this one very important point. So what all should we be very careful about? First, persons who are required to do TDS. Be very sharp on that. Metal scrap, very important for exam. What happens with TDS? It comes in e-cash ledger. Who pays it? Government department or recipients pay it. When is it applicable? When the taxable value exceeds this. Are there some exemptions? Yes, but between metal scrap it will be applicable. And then there is one case of no TDS, saying that when the location of supplier and place of supply is in a state which is different from the state of the recipient, then there will be no TDS. Clear? Yes. So be very careful on this. Then now let's revise TCS. TCS. Now there is a supplier who is supplying through e-commerce operator. So first the supply should be through e-commerce operator, and second the payment also should be through e-commerce operator. If both the conditions are satisfied, then TCS will apply. Plus eco should not be merely an agent. I mean, it should not be a case that he is merely a person who is facilitating the transaction. He should be involved in the operation, saying that he provides a website, he helps them to connect, he helps them to communicate, there is a customer service support. All that denotes that eco is visibly active on the network. If he is merely an agent saying that you guys talk, do whatever you want as you have come, I am only a display website, I don't provide anything else, you have to directly contact the supplier, this is his number, you contact, if there is any dispute you handle, then he is only an agent, then it is not covered by TCS. So here the law has said that eco should do a TCS of 0.5%, meaning CGST 0.25%, SGST 0.25%, and IGST rate will obviously be 0.5%. This maximum can be IGST 2%, but at present the notified rate is C 0.25, S 0.25, IGST 0.5. This is the notified rate as of today. Now, when we talk about TCS, you need to be careful about one very important aspect. It is applicable on net taxable supplies during the month. That means during the month, whatever is the net taxable supplies meaning sales minus sales return. Sir, if it is negative, then take it as 0, don't carry it forward. Sales minus sales return, on that TCS has to be done. Now say suppose my supplier is in Meghalaya and he is supplying within Meghalaya, so he will end up charging C plus S. So should eco take a TCS registration in Meghalaya? The answer is yes. Eco should take a TCS registration in Meghalaya for collecting C plus S. Is it required? Yes, it is mandatory for him to take a TCS registration. Does that mean that eco should have a place of business in Meghalaya? The answer is no. The law very clearly says TCS will apply only and only when you are basically satisfying these conditions. Plus, it very clearly says that TCS is a special kind of registration which can be taken even if you don't have a place of business in that particular state. So even if you don't have a place of business in Meghalaya, e-commerce operator can still take a TCS registration. Is it, sir? Yes, it's a special kind of registration. Now, both TDS and TCS registration are mandatory. That comes from section 51 TDS and this comes from section 52. There also due date to pay tax is 10th. Here also due date to pay tax is 10th of the next month. There they file GSTR 7. Here they file GSTR 8 to report all these transactions. Coming to some important points relating to TCS. Will the supplier get the money in e-cash ledger? The answer is yes, supplier will be able to see it in e-cash ledger after validation. Obviously, he has to validate and only after validation he will be able to see it in his e-cash ledger. What if the supply is under section 9.5? Supply is under section 9.5. Whether TCS will apply? The answer is no TCS, because if it is under section 9.5, who pays the main tax? Ola pays the main tax. Now when Ola is paying the main tax, will Ola do TCS on supplier, that is driver? It is pointless because the entire tax is being paid by the e-commerce operator. The purpose of TCS is to track whether the suppliers are paying the tax correctly, and when Eco himself is paying the tax, there is no question. Supply by e-commerce operator, whether TCS will apply. If Eco themselves are supplying, again there will be no TCS. What if supplier is unregistered? Whether TCS will apply? CBIC has clarified no TCS. But sir, can we supply online even if we are unregistered? Yes. Interstate supply is not allowed for goods. Otherwise you can be unregistered and you can also sell online. It is permitted. TCS will not apply. However, the e-commerce operator has to report such information in his GSTR 8. Then what if supplier is a composition dealer? Now if supplier is a composition dealer, then services, see, it is not allowed only. Is it, sir? Yeah. You check composition, you will find if you are providing services through online platform, you cannot take composition scheme. Goods, is it allowed? Yes, allowed, and TCS will apply. But sir, that TCS will become a cost? No. Composition dealer pays entire money through e-cash ledger. Obviously, he can pay money through e-cash ledger without any problems. It is allowed because e-cash ledger you can also seek a refund. So TCS is applicable. Then there are some interesting cases. What if there is a supplier and there are two e-commerce operators? Because now open network digital commerce is a very dynamic field, and government's objective, open network, to create an open network for digital commerce. Now there are two e-commerce operators. In some cases there will be one supplier side eco who is only face to the supplier, and there is recipient side eco. Recipient side eco helps the customers. The question is, who will do TCS? Let's take an example. Say suppose supplier is Mr. A, and here you have Zepto, and here you have Amazon. Who will do the TCS? Will Zepto do or Amazon do? Because two e-commerce operators are there. CBIC has said supplier side e-commerce operator because he is going to pay the amount to Mr. A and he is a better person to comply with this. Amazon here will not be required to do any TCS. Then say suppose there is Tata Digital and the supplier side e-commerce operator is also Tata Digital, but consumers are ordering on Amazon. They are not aware that Amazon has a tie-up with Tata Digital. But in this case, who will do the TCS? Here CBIC has said Amazon, because these two are same. When these two are same, recipient side e-commerce operator. Last case can be Tata Digital. Tata Digital selling on its own website and there is no recipient side e-commerce operator, then obviously there will be no TCS because you can't do TCS on yourself. Agreed, people? Okay, let's quickly revise this TDS and TCS. Now, first of all, we discussed about TDS. TDS, while making payment, who has to do? Recipient has to do. Who are these recipients? Government department, local authority, government agency, authority, society, PSU, two registered persons dealing in metal scrap. Are there some exemptions? Ministry of Defense between PSUs amongst those who are required to do TDS except metal scrap. While making payment, TDS has to be done. When is it mandatory? Taxable value under a contract exceeds 2.5 lakh. One case of no TDS where the location of supplier, place of supply is in a state which is different from the registration of the recipient, then TDS will not apply. Then we spoke about TCS. TCS, the rate is 0.5%. Two conditions to be satisfied: supply through eco, payment through eco. TCS will apply on net taxable supply. Will the supplier get it in his e-cash ledger? Yes, after validation. Under section 9.5, will TCS apply? No. Supply by eco, will TCS apply? No. Supplier is unregistered, will TCS apply? No. Supplier is composition dealer, services not at all allowed, goods allowed, TCS will be applicable. Then we saw when there are two e-commerce operators, supplier side e-commerce operator will be responsible. But if supplier and supplier side e-commerce are same, then recipient side e-commerce operator. If there is no recipient side e-commerce operator and supplier side e-commerce operator are same, then there will be no TCS. 10th of the next month you have to pay the taxes. TDS GSTR 7, TCS GSTR 8. TCS person is also required to file an annual return GSTR 9B, which is called as annual statement. It's not there in real life, but it's there for your exams. 9B, the due date is 31st December. Say suppose you discover any error, you can rectify it in the next month's return in which you find the error. Last date for rectification is 30th November after the financial year, or date of filing annual return, annual statement in this case, whichever is earlier. Then can department issue a notice to these e-commerce operators saying that please tell me how much stock you are maintaining, because Amazon etc. have huge warehouses where they store goods of the principals, and all those suppliers have to add that place as additional place of business. Then in that case what happens? Then in all those cases basically notice can be issued to e-commerce operator to tell them how much of stock of each person is maintained. They can also tell what is the case relating to and the goods which are stored in that particular scenario for each of those suppliers. Plus they can ask for how many transactions have been conducted. If the e-commerce operator does not reply within 15 days, then in that case penalty, general penalty 25,000 CGST, 25,000 SGST, plus if there is non-payment of TCS, then penalty can be under section 122, which is a separate penalty. Clear? Okay, see you in the next video.